After I had my dad freeze my black AmEx, my campus queen girlfriend nearly skipped out on a banquet costing over $10,000 a head and almost got hauled to the police station. I sat in the private room, watching her frantic pleas flood my phone. Grant, we agreed today was for Julian's birthday. How dare you freeze the card? Where are you right now? Get over here and pay. Everyone is waiting. Come now, or I will never speak to you again. I order you to answer my call immediately. I laughed out of sheer anger. She used my money to play rich, yet still acted high and mighty. Did she really think I was still that spineless simp? I had a secret. I had been reborn. In my last life, I was the son of the richest man alive. Yet I groveled after a poor girl from the countryside. She spent my money, then told everyone I was her simp. She ordered me around like a servant, making me serve her and her new lover. She took control of my family's company. In the end, our daughter and I died miserably on the street, penniless. Just then, the relentless ringing of my phone cut through my thoughts. The moment I answered, her imperious voice came barking through the line. Grant, hurry up and come pay the bill. Phone in hand, I stepped aside. I am not the one who ordered all that. So, why should I come pay? Vivian Ashford felt I had changed. First, I had not booked the hotel. Now, I refused to cover her bill. Yet when we went to the library together, I had even gone early to save seats and bought bubble tea for both of them. How had one nap in the library turned me into this when I woke up? Now the hotel manager held the bill, blocking them from leaving. Vivian Ashford's family was not well off. I had paid her tuition and daily expenses. Ms. Ashford, will you be paying by Venmo or card? The manager asked again from beside her. Vivian Ashford raised a hand, signaling for the manager to wait. She stepped into a corner and lowered her voice. Hasn't it always been me spending? And you paying? She said it as if it were perfectly natural, without the slightest trace of shame. You spend, and I pay. I let out a cold laugh. 10 years had passed since I lived as that groveling simp. I had almost forgotten how stupid I used to be. When Vivian Ashford heard me laugh, her brows twisted together at once. She was in such an embarrassing position, yet I could still laugh so calmly on the other end. Grant, hurry over and pay this bill for me. Otherwise, I will never speak to you again. How ridiculous. Then don't. Who do you think you are? Am I your father, or anyone responsible for you? You ran up the bill. Why should I pay it? Besides, you have to hands and feet. You have been shamelessly leeching off my money. How are you not embarrassed? Before, to protect her pitiful pride, I never would have said anything this cutting. But not in this life. After hearing my words, Vivian's heart started pounding. All this time, she had built herself up as a kind-hearted rich girl princess. I had kept spending money on her, until she almost believed she really was an heiress. Now that I had said it so bluntly, her face flushed red with shame. But then she thought of all the classmates, and the sweet puppy dog boyfriend she had just gone official with, still trapped there. Without payment, none of them could leave. Her tone hardened. I know you are throwing a tantrum at me right now. As long as you come pay the bill right now, I can choose not to be angry with you. Vivian Ashford, let me make this clear. From now on, do not expect another cent from me. I would rather give it to a beggar on the street than give it to you. And whether you are angry or not, has nothing to do with me. But without my money, your life is going to get miserable. What you should be thinking about now is how to pay for your boyfriend's birthday party. Otherwise, you will all be detained at Cloudcrest Hotel. Then your rich girl princess act won't survive. With that, I hung up. On Julian Chambers' birthday in my last life, I was sick and did not attend. But I had arranged everything. Only after scrolling through my Instagram feed just now did I learn that on Julian Chambers' 20th birthday, the two of them got together. I had been played for such a fool. Vivian Ashford listened to the cold, mechanical beeping on the line, and panic instantly seized her. She figured the news that she and Julian Chambers were together must have reached me. That had to be why I was acting this way. If she had known, she would never have let anyone their post on Instagram. She should have found some excuse, saying she was afraid I could not handle knowing. Then she could have dated Julian Chambers in secret. Now that I knew, I was no longer willing to be her sucker. The hotel manager stood there, looking anxious too. The urgent priority was settling the hotel's bill. She took out her phone and messaged me. You misunderstood what happened between Julian and me. He is not my boyfriend. The hotel manager in the lobby will not let us leave. Please help me. If that really will not work, Asked the lobby manager to give me a few days. It was a stalling tactic. She thought that as long as she steadied me, I could never bear to see her like this. But I never replied to her message. Julian Chambers walked over with a blissful smile on his face. What's wrong? Everyone says they are tired of standing by the door. Vivian Ashford looked deeply troubled. Just then, the manager came over again. Ms. Ashford, how will you be settling your bill? Only then did Julian Chambers realize they could not leave because the bill was unpaid. He looked at Vivian Ashford. Vivian's eyes darted away. She looked at the manager and said, Manager, I am having a payment issue. Could I bring the money tomorrow? The hotel manager shook his head. I am sorry, Ms. Ashford. We have no precedent for that here. I am only an employee, and I do not have that authority. Since so many classmates are here, perhaps you could pool the money and pay it. Vivian Ashford stared at the bill in her hand. $300,000. Her fingers clenched tightly around it. The other classmates all came over. Why is paying the bill taking so long? The manager stood there watching Vivian Ashford. Her clothes and bag were clearly expensive. He had assumed she was a trust fund kid. He never expected she could not even produce $300,000. Vivian lowered her head and thought for a moment. Then she took off the bracelet on her wrist. I had given her that bracelet too. It was probably worth quite a bit. Manager, I have hit a small payment snag. Can I leave this bracelet with you as collateral and come back tomorrow to pay? She had only just gotten together with Julian Chambers. She could not let him know how desperate her situation was. The hotel manager still wore a polite smile. I am sorry, Ms. Ashford. We do not make exceptions like that. Julian Chambers found it strange. Vivian Ashford usually spent plenty. How could she not even come up with $300,000? Vivian, what happened? All my cards are with Grant. I cannot reach him right now. Julian Chambers let out a slight breath of relief. He had thought something was wrong with Vivian herself. Then, what do we do now? He looked at Vivian Ashford with concern. His own family was just ordinary. He only had about $1,000 a month for living expenses. And today was his birthday. $300,000 was no small amount to him. It is fine. Do not worry. Wait here with everyone for a moment. I will find a way to raise $300,000. After saying that, she immediately left the hotel to scrape the money together. Over the past few years, I had given her plenty of luxury goods, as well as several pairs of limited edition sneakers. Selling those should be enough to raise $300,000. After my parents and I finished dinner and walked out, we saw all the classmates standing outside the private dining room. I was not close with my classmates, so I had no intention of saying hello. But Julian Chambers spotted me at once. Grant, what are you doing here? I thought you were sick and sleeping in the dorm. I was even planning to bring you cake when I went back later. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker. I did not know you were coming today. I could not properly host you. That was rude of me. When he saw my parents, Julian Chambers greeted them politely. My parents had a decent impression of Julian Chambers because he was often with me and usually seemed rather well behaved, with a poised, easy manner. Julian, dear, we only just found out today was your birthday. We did not prepare a gift for you. Happy birthday. My mother wore an elegant smile. Even in an ordinary outfit, she could not hide her noble, graceful air. Thank you, Mrs. Whitaker. Seeing you and Mr. Whitaker already makes me happy. How can I still think about birthday gifts? He had a silver tongue. He sweet-talked my parents into smiling the whole time. If not for what happened in my last life, seeing him act like this, I might have been taken in by that polished, well-behaved face of his. When the classmates saw my parents, they thought my parents had an impressive air. Born into a family like that, how could I keep pestering Vivian Ashford so shamelessly? Vivian was clearly impatient with me, yet I kept throwing myself at her. I even played third wheel to Vivian Ashford and Julian Chambers. Oh, right, Grant. Vivian said all her cards are with you. Since you were not here, the hotel bill still has not been paid. Julian Chambers wore a faint smile, but in his heart, he was thinking that after tonight, he had to get Vivian Ashford's cards into his own hands. Then I would no longer be able to keep acting as the third wheel between him and Vivian. The classmates around us were all staring at me. They thought I was utterly shameless. I had supposedly taken Vivian Ashford's cards, then vanished. Because of me, they had been stuck waiting here so long. They could not help looking at me with contempt. I asked, puzzled, what cards? Julian Chambers thought I was still playing dumb. But in front of so many classmates, he could not lose his temper. He could not risk ruining the public persona he had built. Vivian said her bank cards are with you. Luckily, we ran into you here. Vivian could not get through when she called you. I messaged you too, but you did not reply. She has gone back to campus to look for you. Honestly, Vivian is something else. It was just my birthday, but she insisted on making it this grand. Everyone knew the person I liked was Vivian Ashford. Yet, to everyone's surprise, a faint smile rose on my face. She told you that her bank cards were with me? Julian Chambers saw that I was not angry. Instead, my face showed a trace of indifference. That made him deeply uncomfortable. Still, he forced the corners of his mouth up. Yes, Grant, just hand over the cards. Everyone has been standing here for ages. The classmates present looked at me with far more hostility now. If not for me, they would not have been kept here. I said, Vivian Ashford never left any bank cards with me. As I spoke, I turned to my parents and said, Mom, Dad, let us go. Just as I turned around, someone grabbed my hand. Julian Chambers was afraid I would leave, and Vivian Ashford would not be able to find me later. After all, it was his birthday. He could not just ignore the mess. Grant, since that is the case, maybe it is a misunderstanding. How about this? Lend me $300,000 first. When Vivian comes back, she can pay you back. Earlier, when Vivian Ashford called, I did not answer in front of my parents, so my parents had no idea what was going on. My father, unaware of the situation, stood nearby and was about to take out a bank card for the manager. But I stopped him. I looked at Julian Chambers. How can you be so sure she has $300,000 if she cannot come up with it? I imagine you cannot either, can you? Julian Chambers' family was not well off. I had always known that. Julian Chambers' expression changed, but he quickly recovered. Grant, you and Vivian are from the same hometown. You know Vivian's family is pretty rich. There is no way she cannot even produce $300,000. If Vivian Ashford's family had no money, you would not have kept simping for her all this time. My father seemed about to say something, but one look from me made him swallow his words. I lowered my head and glanced at the watch on my wrist. Did you not say she went to look for me? Then I will wait for her right here. I want all of you to see with your own eyes whether her bank cards are actually with me. Seeing me speak with such certainty, Julian Chambers had nothing more he could say. He could only put that gentle smile back on his face. He kept hold of my wrist. Grant, you did not look well this afternoon. Are you feeling better now? I am sorry I left you alone in the dorm and came here to celebrate my birthday. He could tell I was different today. Among the guests at the birthday banquet were also some of our classmates, so he could not show the slightest flaw. Besides, my parents were still there. I had no patience to keep talking to him. I just lowered my head and played on my phone. After a while, the classmates grew more impatient. Even those still on Julian Chambers' side were starting to think badly of him. I asked my parents to wait outside in the car. Julian, when is your girlfriend coming back? Julian Chambers took out his phone and called Vivian Ashford again. The line was still busy. No matter what he tried, he could not get through. He turned to ask the manager whether the classmates could leave first, while he and I stayed behind to wait. The manager shook his head. Mr. Chambers, until the bill is fully paid, not one of you may leave. At last, someone among the dozens of classmates began to complain. What is this? How do you throw a birthday party without having the money ready? And he still had the nerve to make it this lavish. Julian Chambers' girlfriend is way too unreliable. If I had known, I never would have come. Julian Chambers usually seems pretty well off. How can he not even afford his own birthday bill? Isn't he supposed to be close with Grant Whitaker? Grant's parents were right here earlier. Why did he not borrow some from them? The classmates' words grew harsher and harsher, and Julian Chambers cared deeply about saving face. He clutched his phone, constantly messaging Vivian Ashford, but Vivian never replied. The more he thought about it, the more wrong it felt. If today's mess was not handled properly, his entire image at school would be ruined. After all, he was known as the campus heartthrob. He watched me leaning against the wall playing a game. Then he finally worked up the nerve and walked toward me. Grant, I do not know what is going on with Vivian, but I cannot reach her. How about you lend me $300,000 first? I will definitely pay you back. We are best friends, aren't we? You would not leave me hanging, right? I lifted my eyes and gave a cold laugh. Best friends? You got together with the girl I like behind my back. Is that what a best friend is supposed to do? Before this, I really had treated Julian Chambers like my closest friend. I never imagined he and Vivian Ashford had gotten involved so early. Julian Chambers still wore a smile. He looked as if this were perfectly reasonable. When Vivian confessed to me, I was surprised too. The truth is, I liked Vivian too. But because you liked her, I never dared to say it. But love has to go both ways. You can't force love. Since he had decided to be with Vivian Ashford, there was no point keeping it hidden anymore. Well, wasn't that convenient? You can't force love. If I remember correctly, you used to whisper in my ear all the time about all the terrible things Vivian had done, telling me to stop liking her. So, how did you end up with her yourself? What he wanted everyone to believe was that he and Vivian Ashford were simply drawn to each other. But he never expected me to expose all the bad things he had said about Vivian. Back then, he said those things to make me stop liking Vivian Ashford, so he could be with her himself. Unfortunately for him, even after hearing so many of Vivian's flaws, I still liked her anyway. Falling for someone can happen in an instant. I did think Vivian had her faults at first. With the way she treated you, I was only standing up for you. But I could feel how good Vivian was to me. Feelings are not something you can control. You know that too. Otherwise, you would not have liked Vivian for so long. Just then, Vivian Ashford arrived on the hotel's 88th floor, drenched in sweat. The moment she stepped out of the elevator, she saw me standing there. Because of me, she had ended up this humiliated. She looked at me and said, "What are you doing here now? I do not want to stay here either. It was your boyfriend who insisted on keeping me here, saying your cards were with me." Vivian Ashford's body went stiff. She was terrified I would expose her situation in front of all our classmates. Since the birthday banquet had ended, 2 full hours had already passed. When the classmates saw Vivian Ashford, they felt as if hope had arrived. They all came over. "Vivian, you are finally back," the staff here said. "We cannot leave until the bill is paid." What happened? She fought to calm herself down and gave a faint smile. "It's fine. I'll handle this right now," Vivian Ashford said to the manager. "This credit card can cover $50,000. I will send the rest through Venmo." She had gone back and sold the luxury goods I had given her. In that emergency, she had also opened a credit card. Julian Chambers asked in a low voice, "Did you not say your cards were with Grant? Then why are you using a credit card?" Vivian Ashford explained to him, "I will pay first. I will explain when we get back." Julian Chambers refused to drop it. He said loudly, "Grant, Vivian said her cards are with you. But just now, you said they were not. Is there some kind of misunderstanding?" He hated that even at a time like this, Vivian Ashford still seemed to be protecting me. If today passed like this, then he would never have another chance to take control of Vivian Ashford's cards. Vivian Ashford turned to look at Julian Chambers. Her tone sharpened slightly. "Did I not say we would talk after we got back?" Julian Chambers could not see her embarrassment. He thought she simply did not want to humiliate me in front of everyone. He thought she was sparing me out of loyalty to a fellow Ashgrove native. But Julian Chambers was not about to let it go. I spoke up. "Vivian Ashford, you said your bank cards were with me." Julian Chambers, the classmates, and I were all watching her. Vivian Ashford cared deeply about saving face. She did not want Julian Chambers or our classmates to know that she was really just a fake heiress. For more than a year, I was the only one in New York who knew her real family background. Everyone else thought she came from money. This was the first time she had tasted the benefits of wealth, so she refused to lose that identity. She did not answer my question. Instead, she forced down the anger in her chest and smiled at the manager. "I will go settle the bill first." After Vivian Ashford followed the manager and finished paying, she came back again. She apologized to the classmates. "Everyone, I am sorry. I made you wait here for so long. The bill has been paid." The classmates were already in a foul mood, but everyone there was friends with Vivian Ashford and Julian Chambers. Now that the bill was settled, they could hardly say anything more. After all, it was still Julian Chambers' birthday. The classmates were just about to leave when I stopped them. "Do not go yet. This is not resolved. If you leave now, by tomorrow the whole school will hear that I kept Vivian Ashford's bank cards from her. I cannot afford to carry an accusation like that." Vivian Ashford looked at me, clearly seeing that I meant to ruin the whole night. She said to the classmates, "This is our private matter. Grant is probably upset because Julian and I are together. You should all head back first. I will handle this." I looked at her, amazed that even now, she could lie without so much as a blush. She really was shameless. But I was no longer the weak, gullible Grant from my previous life. I said, perfectly composed. Everyone. I am not upset. It is true that I used to like Vivian Ashford, but then I realized she is just a proud little gold digger. As for who she wants to be with, I do not care in the slightest. But today, she claimed her bank cards were with me. That I refuse to accept. In fact, the money she usually spends is all mine. Our classmates have all seen it before. No matter what Vivian Ashford bought, I was the one paying. So naturally, they assumed her cards must be with me. Even if Vivian Ashford had said nothing, everyone would have believed it anyway. Everyone burst out laughing. Grant, have you no shame? A woman as brilliant and beautiful as Vivian would be a gold digger? With grades like hers, she could land any part-time job and make $10,000 a month. Look at what Vivian usually wears. Look at what she uses every day. Then look at what you usually wear and what you use. The classmates all stood on Vivian Ashford's side. They all thought I was telling some outrageous joke. They were waiting to see me get humiliated, but they were disappointed. Vivian Ashford said nothing. She only smiled at the classmates and said, everyone, please head back. It really is not safe to return to campus too late. I was not that easy to brush off. Vivian Ashford, how much time can one simple answer take? Tell your classmates right now, whether your cards are with me or not. Seeing me press her step by step, Vivian Ashford had no choice but to dodge the question. Maybe I remembered wrong. Maybe I put my cards somewhere else and could not find them. Everyone still thought Vivian Ashford was kind. Even now, they believed she was trying not to embarrass me. When I heard her excuse, I could not help laughing. It had better be. Otherwise, in the days to come, you will be working for your boyfriend to pay off tonight's birthday banquet debt. Also, since you are so rich, I have given you plenty over the years. Return all of it to me. I will give you one night to sort everything out. After saying that, I left. My parents were still waiting for me in the car. Since I had been gone so long, they were afraid something had happened to me. They had already sent me a string of messages. It was getting late. The classmates all returned to campus. Julian Chambers walked beside Vivian Ashford. He was wondering what I had meant just now. Vivian Ashford would never have to work off debt over one measly birthday party. At first, like the other classmates, he thought I was joking. But seeing how distracted she looked, Julian Chambers could not help feeling worried. He gathered his courage and took Vivian Ashford's hand. Vivian Ashford turned and saw that considerate, understanding face. She forced a faint smile. Vivian, what did Grant mean by all that just now? Vivian Ashford did not know what I was up to. Everything that had happened today, one thing after another, made her feel that I had changed. She was also worried whether I would still be like before, letting her keep me under her thumb. But she had only just gotten together with Julian Chambers, and she did not want to ruin her image in his eyes. It is nothing. Maybe us being together just upset him. Vivian Ashford's words put Julian Chambers' mind at ease. He came from a very poor family in Hillcrest. His family had placed huge expectations on him. He had fought hard just to get into Kingsbridge University, and he had barely managed to latch onto Vivian Ashford, this rich girl princess. If Vivian Ashford was not really a wealthy heiress, then all his efforts would have been for nothing. My parents were staying in New York for a while, so I followed them to Lakeview Gardens. It was the Whitaker family's villa in the heart of the city. In my last life, I rarely stayed here. I had luxury in my hands, yet I insisted on chasing misery. In this life, I wanted none of that suffering. I was going to live the rich heir life that was mine. Although the Whitaker family rarely stayed here, someone had always kept the place maintained. Mrs. Walker had also come from Riverford with us, because my mother loved Mrs. Walker's cooking. She brought Mrs. Walker wherever she went. The moment I entered, I saw Mrs. Walker. I called out warmly, "Mrs. Walker," several times. Mrs. Walker hurried to respond. Mrs. Walker had worked for the Whitaker family for over 20 years. Back then, I had actually believed Mrs. Walker would do something like that. Thinking about it now, it was only Vivian Ashford trying to get Mrs. Walker replaced. I heard Mrs. Walker died not long after leaving the Whitaker family. I never learned exactly how she died. For Vivian Ashford, that woman, I truly drove the Whitaker family into ruin. Mrs. Walker, I missed you so much. It has been so long since I saw you. Mrs. Walker stood there with a rag in her hand, completely at a loss. She looked toward my parents. My father and mother shook their heads. They clearly had no idea what was going on either. Alright. It has only been 2 months. Anyone who did not know better would think you had not met in over a decade. My mother teased. I realized I really had gotten a little emotional. Embarrassed, I looked at my parents and stuck out my tongue. Then I went back to my room. I lay down on the soft, plush bed. It was like sleeping on a soft cloud. It was incredibly comfortable. It had been so long since I had slept in a bed this comfortable. Thinking of that year I spent at the dump in my last life, it felt like decades of pure torment. Just as I was about to drift off, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Julian Chambers. Grant, why are you not back yet? I saved you some birthday cake. I did not reply. Instead, I opened my Instagram feed. I saw that Julian Chambers had posted about tonight's birthday banquet. Happy 20th birthday to me. My 19th birthday wish came true. I finally got together with the girl I like. Below it was a photo of Julian Chambers and Vivian Ashford. I stared at that photo for a long time, lost in thought. So, Julian Chambers had liked Vivian Ashford since he was 19, and I had not noticed at all. I had even thought Julian Chambers hated Vivian Ashford. I kept scrolling. Then I saw Vivian Ashford had posted the words, Instagram official. It was the same couple photo of them. I commented underneath, remember to gather everything I gave you tomorrow and return it all to me. Over the years, I had spent a fortune on her. Those items were all expensive. Even secondhand. They could sell for a lot. Without my support from now on, Vivian Ashford would probably try to sell them. Even if they ended up in the trash, I still would not let Vivian Ashford profit from them. After leaving the comment, I closed my Instagram feed. I was just about to rest again when a woman's figure appeared in my mind. Eleanor Sinclair. I suddenly remembered her. The woman who held me before I died in my last life. Eleanor Sinclair and Vivian Ashford were in the same class. If Vivian Ashford was considered a computer science standout, then Eleanor Sinclair was the department's coding legend. She was only a sophomore now, yet she had already won several major awards for the university. Although she was in the same class as Vivian Ashford, she rarely came to campus. Then I remembered Eleanor Sinclair, and I had an engagement of her own. But back in freshman year, I fought it with everything I had. I said it was a new era, and marriage should be about freedom. So I rejected my family-arranged engagement with Eleanor Sinclair. Our marriage had been decided before we were even born, arranged for us by Eleanor Sinclair's grandparents. All I remembered from my last life was that Eleanor Sinclair had tried to approach me, but I rejected her coldly. After that, Eleanor Sinclair rarely came to campus. Now, seeing her even once would be difficult, but I did think of a way. My parents had come to New York too. That meant dinner with the Sinclair family was inevitable. When that happened, seeing Eleanor Sinclair should not be hard. After Vivian Ashford finished her shower, she was about to sort through the things she had sold today. The situation today had been too urgent. On a resale platform, she had listed the luxury bags I gave her and put them all up for sale. The buyer had paid her in advance, but she had not shipped the items yet. If she packed them now, she could send them out first thing tomorrow. After she finished organizing everything, she opened her Instagram feed. The post she had just made had already gained plenty of likes and comments. The moment she tapped in, everyone was saying she and Julian Chambers were the perfect couple. Some wished them a long, lasting love. Others, openly or subtly, were throwing filthy insults at me. As she kept scrolling down, her smile froze. My comment appeared before her eyes. She had thought I was only speaking in anger. She never expected me to comment on her post too. Some mutual friends had already started cursing me on her behalf. Without a word, she deleted that comment. Then she opened our chat window. What did you mean by what you said today? And you even commented on my Instagram post. Do we really have to make this so ugly? And as for the things you gave me, I threw them away ages ago. If you want them back, go dig through the trash. After sending that, she deleted her entire chat history with me. Then she opened her chat with Julian Chambers. They started flirting sweetly back and forth. As for those things, she did not believe I would actually demand them back. Besides, she thought she knew me too well. She knew how deeply I liked her, and how soft-hearted I used to be. Otherwise, she could never have kept me under her thumb for so long. That was why she dared to dismiss me completely. Early the next morning, in the computer science classroom, there were many unfamiliar faces. Julian Chambers sat beside Vivian Ashford. He and I were both design majors, but we usually audited Vivian Ashford's classes together. He knew that at this university, Plenty of male students had a crush on Vivian Ashford, so he came today to make those people understand that Vivian Ashford was already taken. But there were clearly far more students in class today. He assumed they had all come to see his girlfriend, so he sat there with his chin lifted high, looking proud of himself. But as soon as the professor stepped onto the podium, he said, "Well, what brought the coding legend herself to class today?" Julian Chambers turned his head and saw her lovely face and delicate features. And with every movement, Eleanor Sinclair carried an old money grace. A woman like that would stand out anywhere. Hearing the professor's words, Eleanor Sinclair stood up. She smiled and greeted him. "Good morning, Professor Brooks." Professor Daniel Brooks was fairly humorous, but when it came to teaching, he was strict. In his class, any student in the major who skipped more than 3 classes would fail that semester. Eleanor Sinclair was the only exception. Her technical skills were simply that strong. The two often discussed technology in private. Their relationship was not merely student and professor. They were also friends. Just then, I walked into the classroom with a book in my arms. First, I glanced at Vivian Ashford and Julian Chambers. Julian Chambers waved at me, but he clearly had no intention of letting me come over. They had not saved me a seat today. Vivian Ashford knew I would not let go of her that easily. After all, I had still come to audit her class today. I found today strange. There was not a single empty seat in the whole classroom. I looked around, and the room was packed. Just as I was wondering where to sit, my gaze landed on an empty seat in the corner. Beside that empty seat sat a young woman in a white blouse. Her face was fair and pure, her skin luminous as jade. My heartbeat stopped for a few seconds. That young woman was Eleanor Sinclair. Up close, she was countless times more beautiful than Vivian Ashford. I had no idea how blind I must have been back then to fall for Vivian Ashford of all people. There was a book on the empty seat. Maybe she was saving it for someone, or maybe she simply did not want anyone sitting beside her. What perfect timing. I had just been wondering how to see her. A thought clicked, and I walked over. I spoke in a low voice beside Eleanor Sinclair. "Hi, classmate, may I ask if someone is sitting here?" Eleanor Sinclair looked up and saw it was me. She froze slightly, as if she thought she had misheard. I asked again, "Classmate, is this seat taken? May I sit here?" Once she understood my question, Eleanor Sinclair shook her head. "No, please, sit." Actually, that seat had been saved by Eleanor Sinclair for her friend, Phoebe Carter. I had just sat down when a girl came in through the back door. Seeing a guy sitting beside Eleanor Sinclair, she stopped dead in her tracks. She was Eleanor Sinclair's school friend, Phoebe Carter. Eleanor Sinclair had never spoken to any boy at school before. Any guy who could sit beside Eleanor Sinclair had to be someone unusual. Then Phoebe saw there were no seats left in the room. All she could do was smack her own forehead. Then she sent Eleanor Sinclair a message. "You absolute menace. I already used up my 3 allowed absences this semester. You traitor, ditching your friend for a guy. If I skip next time and fail finals, you are so close with Professor Brooks. You'd better put in a good word for me." After sending that message, she left the classroom. Eleanor Sinclair looked at Phoebe Carter's message. A faint smile touched the corner of her mouth. Then, afraid it was too obvious, she quickly hid the smile away. I caught that little smile on her lips. I had never seen her smile like that before. Who had sent her that message? Was it someone she liked now? When Julian Chambers saw me sitting beside Eleanor Sinclair, he gnashed his teeth with jealousy. If Eleanor Sinclair had not been so hard to see on campus before, I might never have fallen for Vivian Ashford. And now, I was sitting right beside Eleanor. For a moment, he could almost swear Eleanor Sinclair had smiled. Vivian Ashford turned away with a cold face. She was sure I was only trying to provoke her. Soon enough, I would find out that not everyone was as tolerant as she was. I had always come to audit the computer science classes, but during sophomore year, I had barely seen Eleanor Sinclair. I did not know why she had suddenly come to class again. Maybe heaven was giving me another chance. In this life, I would never hurt Eleanor Sinclair again. When I used to come to class, I spent the whole time staring at Vivian Ashford. I was obsessed with Vivian Ashford's beauty, and never once listened seriously. But after being reborn, I refused to waste my youth like I had in my last life. Eleanor Sinclair was the coding legend of the computer science department. I wanted to truly master computer science too, so Eleanor and I would have something in common. Besides, I knew that in a few years, with artificial intelligence becoming widespread, The tech industry would become incredibly sought after. The Whitaker family was still invested in mostly traditional businesses. I wanted to transform our family industries as well. During class, I raised my hand from time to time to ask Professor Brooks about anything I did not understand. Then I carefully wrote it all down in my textbook. Everyone was curious why I had suddenly become so driven. Vivian Ashford sneered inwardly. Even if I tried desperately to show off, she would never look at me again. After class, I looked at Eleanor Sinclair beside me. She was packing up her books to leave. It had taken so much just to see her in class again. Who knew when I would see her next? To make up for the regrets of my last life, I gathered my courage. Classmate, I heard you are the coding legend here. I have a few questions I would like to ask you. Would it be okay if we exchanged contacts? I did not know whether Eleanor Sinclair still remembered me. During freshman year, the Whitaker family and the Sinclair family had dinner together. At the table, the Sinclairs brought up our engagement. I fought it with everything I had. I even said that if they wanted me to marry her, they might as well let me die. By then, I had already seen Eleanor Sinclair at school. People in the computer science department had always compared Eleanor Sinclair with Vivian Ashford. Back then, I was blinded by infatuation. So, I even grew to resent Eleanor Sinclair. But after that family dinner, I did not seem to see Eleanor Sinclair at school again. Eleanor Sinclair stood there, quietly looking at me. She did not say yes or no. After a long silence, I gave myself an out. If it is inconvenient, no worries. Then I saw Eleanor Sinclair, her face unreadable, open the QR code on her phone. Her hand trembled slightly. If you did not look closely, you would not notice how tense her body was. Only after I scanned the QR code and sent the contact request did she let out a faint breath of relief. Then she calmly turned off her phone screen, as if nothing had happened. The screen's glow seemed to spill into her deep eyes, making them shimmer. Eleanor Sinclair turned and left the classroom. I was still worrying whether she had only done it out of courtesy, and whether she would actually accept my friend request. But I had no time to think further. I saw Vivian Ashford and Julian Chambers packing up their books, ready to leave. Wait, Vivian Ashford, you can delete me if you want, but you need to return everything I gave you. My voice stopped. Everyone who was about to leave the classroom. Julian Chambers turned around. That fake smile was still plastered on his face. Grant, why did you not come back to the dorm last night? I sent you so many messages, but you never replied. Are you okay? That phony look of concern was such good acting that it was no wonder he fooled me in my last life. Drop the fake concern. Have you prepared my things? Julian Chambers said. I know you are angry that Vivian and I are together, but I still hope we can stay friends. Julian Chambers had always been smooth and airtight. I could not be bothered with his polite act. I came today only to ask Vivian Ashford whether she had prepared everything I gave her before. I was done supporting this fake innocent angel. Almost everyone in the classroom was still there. They all sat there, waiting for the drama. Eleanor Sinclair had reached the hallway outside the classroom. Hearing the voices inside, she stopped walking too. Grant, are you out of your mind? What expensive gifts could someone like you possibly give Vivian? Him. Ever since Julian and Vivian got together, he has been throwing a jealous tantrum. He probably wants back even the socks he gave her. Look at you. You look broke and pathetic. Vivian Ashford and Julian Chambers had excellent reputations at school, so plenty of people spoke up for them. I had been the one solving their problems behind the scenes, yet they got to play the good people. And like an idiot, I let them use me as their pawn. I looked at this crowd, all of them completely fooled by Vivian Ashford, and I could not help finding it funny. Do you people really think Vivian Ashford is some wealthy heiress? I walked toward Vivian Ashford. I looked her up and down. Then let me spell it out for you. Everything she is wearing right now from head to toe was bought by me. If she had to rely on herself, she could not even afford the socks on her feet. Those designer VK socks she is wearing right now cost $8,000 a pair, and she could not even afford $5,000 a year in tuition. If not for me, she probably would not even be attending Kingsbridge University. My words were like a knife, slicing again and again into Vivian Ashford's heart. Vivian Ashford asked in a low voice, "Do you have to make this so humiliating?" I am not the one making it humiliating. You brought this on yourself. Besides, in private, you and your roommates called me your little lackey. If I had not seen her roommate yesterday, commenting under her Instagram post, I would not have known Vivian Ashford was this disgusting. I looked at Vivian Ashford with a cold smile. For the sake of all the years we have known each other, I can let you keep the outfit you are wearing, but everything else I gave you before, you will return. Julian Chambers also knew that many of the things Vivian Ashford wore came from me, but he had always believed Vivian Ashford's family had to be richer than mine. Grant, isn't this going too far? Too far? I am not the one going too far. You two are the shameless ones. For more than a year, you spent my money, laughed behind my back like I was an idiot, and called me your little lackey. If either of you had even a shred of shame, you never could have sunk this low. Julian Chambers said, did we force you to spend money on us? Did we hold a knife to your throat and make you give us gifts, taking back gifts after giving them away? I have never seen anyone like you. Julian Chambers usually came across as friendly, and he was very good at pretending. Once he said that, everyone sided with Julian Chambers and Vivian Ashford again. Exactly. Who takes back something that already gave away? He is just shameless. This is why you can't be friends with poor people. They even claw back a few gifts. If Vivian's family had no money, would he really use such cheap things himself, while giving Vivian such expensive gifts? In the end, he was just trying to social climb. Now that he has been exposed, he is making the fallout public like this. I listened to the classmates gossiping, and I did not care at all. Money is meant to make me happy. So of course, I can do whatever I want with things I bought. Unlike some people, who look so pure and high class, but do not even have $100 in their pocket. They can only fool a naive guy like me. But now, I do not want to be fooled anymore. What is wrong with taking back what belongs to me? Vivian Ashford looked at me. My face was clearly the same, but my mouth and my mind no longer seemed like the Grant she knew. The me now was sharp and clear-headed. I knew exactly who deserved my love and who deserved my hatred. I stared hard at Vivian Ashford. She had an especially fierce pride. If this dragged on, it would do Vivian Ashford no good at all. She might even become the joke of the whole school. Fine, Grant, I will return them to you right now. But let me make one thing clear. I am not some fake innocent angel you kept. Before, you begged me to accept your gifts. That is the only reason I took them. After I give them back, please stop pestering me. Vivian Ashford grabbed Julian Chambers and walked out of the classroom.